What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the 2 Plus podcast. Today, I'm going to whip through a bite-sized battle report, so hopefully about 15 minutes or so. The recent game I had against Mike, friend of the pod, he was running Renegade Crowns off the back of that Arcane Journal release, and I was running my Orcs and Goblins. This was highly anticipated battle. There was a lot of new things to test out, obviously, with the new Arcane Journal. There's a few interesting takeaways at the end, which I'll run through, but I'll run you through how the battle unfolded and what I think it means for Renegade Crowns, both competitively and in a social setting. Quickly whip through the list as quickly as possible. Mike had 2 Renegade Princes. One, which was his general, which is on a barded warhorse with the Heartwood Lance, and that's the Bretonnian item, and he could take that because he was the Renegade Knight. I believe that's the thing that allows him to do it. It means he can have Bretonnian items and general items. So he had the Talisman of Protection 2. Full plate armor, so he had a 2-up, 5-up, and then a bit of a menace on the charge. Another Renegade Prince, also Renegade Knight, which gives +1 weapon skill, +1 strength. On a barded warhorse, the Ogre Blade and the Gauntlet of the Jewel, so you could not refuse a challenge. Also from the Bretonnian magic items list. He had an Outcast Wizard with the Noble Outlaw. He had a Longbow and Scouts, and he was on foot running Necromancy with a Law Familiar. He had a Renegade Captain, which was a BSB, with the Might of Marigliano, which gives stubborn to him and whatever unit he joins, as long as neither of them have made a break test yet. He had, and this is one of the key things about Renegade Crowns, 31 veteran cell swords. They had thrusting spears, full plate armor, shields, so they have a 3-up save without parry, and shields, so they fight in extra ranks. They get a heavy infantry bonus, and they have the phalanx special rule. That means that they don't get disrupted when charged in the flank, unless it's unit strength 10, I believe. And I believe it can also give ground. I'm going to look that up. Yeah, so that means they become heavy infantry, which means they get a rank bonus per 4 models instead of 5, which they normally would. And they have the steady in the ranks rule, which heavy infantry have. So it kind of upgrades them into a more beefy unit that you can then put that BSB in there to give them stubborn. It really makes them quite a sturdy unit despite being toughness 3. He also had 5 Hireling Outriders, which were ambushes. They had reserve move and a brace of pistols, so these are kind of like your road wardens. He also had 2 units of 9 free blades that were mounted with full plate armor and shields in the Lance formation, which is the part of the Renegade Crowns bonus, with full command, and that's it. So they come in at 315 points, 2-up save, Lance formation. Both of those Renegades, one of each goes in, Renegade Princes, one of each goes into those units. So that's a unit of 10 each. And then he had 2 Border Prince Bombards to round it off for a perfect 2,000 points. I was running a Black Orc Warboss on a boar. He had a Cav Spear, a Talisman of Protection, and a Luckstone. I also had an Orc Big Boss who was a BSB on a Boar Chariot. He had Trollhide Trousers and a Charm Shield, so that makes him, I think, a 3-up save with his shield. Heavy Armor is a 5-up. 4-up save, 5-up regen, and a once-off 5-up ward for 1 wound. I also had a level 4 with the Staff of Badoom. He's an Orc Weird Knob running Elementalism. And I had a Night Goblin Big Boss who had light armor shield and a great weapon, who's a great piece for anyone running Orcs and Goblins. Really gives your Night Goblin unit a bit of versatility. 17 Black Orcs, which is where the Orc Weird Knob goes into. Great weapons, shields, big red raggedy flags, so weapon skill 5. 30 Night Goblins with 3 Fanatics with the War Banner, with Netters as well. Full command there as well, just with shield and hand weapons and shield, which I think is the best way to run them. Don't pour any more points to them. Give them a 4-up save with parry, I think. 5-up save with parry. I also had an Orc Boar Chariot, and I had 6 Orc Boar Boys with, they were Biggins with Cav Spears, heavy armor, shield, full command. 1 Mangler Squid, a Giant, and 2 Doom Divers to wrap out the rare. It's a bit of a mixed bag in the Orcs and Goblins list. This was the map we were playing. King of the Hill was the scenario. You can see that hill in the middle there. 1, 2, 3, 4 special features. Secondary objectives. And this is a special feature in the middle. of the board. So lots of scoring. We wanted to kind of just whack everything in it, see what it did, gives you something to play for, and hopefully it affects the game as you go. Promotes people to go in the middle. King of the Hill, I think, is probably the best objective in the game, scenario in the game. It really, really forces you to move into the middle. We were playing, instead of the rule books, 100 points per turn. This was 100 points at the end of each battle round. So each player's turn, at the end of that, whoever had to be on the hill and closest to the center of the hill got 100 points. And then the special feature in the middle granted 250 points at the end of the game for whoever captured it, and you roll on the regular table as per the rule book to give a bonus to whoever's controlling it throughout the game. Secondary objectives were all just worth the 30 points, just for something else to do. You can see the lists out in front of us. Renegade crowns up the top, a bombard on each wing, those two big units of knights on the side in lance formation, and the ginormous phalanx right in the middle, 31 of 32 of them, including the BSB, 4x8. Looks beautiful, but you can see there that it's not a lot of units on the board. Quite an expensive army, which I'll get into a bit later, and his necromancer scouting over there in the corner, being a little pest, which we'll see in a bit. My orc boys on one flank, night goblins inside them, a giant, black orcs with the shaman in it. That's my regular orc chariot. That is my mangler, and that's my BSB there, and you can see the two doom divers down the bottom. So we're all rushing for this middle. Mike wins the roll-off. He goes first, which is not what I want to see against cannons, but off we go. So you can see Mike moves his units just straight up, right into the middle, setting up some aggressive charge action on his next turn if he wanted to. But this is a massive mistake that he made here. You can see on this photo here, my mangler, he leaves it about 10 inches away. The random move 3d6, I believe the average is 10.5. Is that right? 3.5, I think, might be the average. Someone will correct me there. But it was definitely within my charge range of the mangler. And we'll see what happens there in a bit. Onto his shooting phase. His cannons pop both of my doom divers. You can see here, Alex made a video about the top 5 most feels bad interactions in the game. And this is kind of what he was getting at with cannons. This cannon can't see my doom diver down the bottom there. He's able to, because he can see this unit, aim 10 from the back of this unit in a perfect straight line into my doom diver. He rolls a 10 on his first roll, and then he rolls like a 6 or an 8 on his second one, which bounces into my doom diver. Kills a black orc, which I don't care about, and then pops my doom diver as well. It just kind of feels a bit weird. The laser cannons always leave a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I deployed against it. I was willing to sacrifice one. I thought I'd done enough for the other, but I hadn't. But c'est la vie. I like cannons, how they have their role. They threaten particularly deployment, and they scare their opponents, but the power of them sometimes I think just has a bit of a distorting effect. This is a hilarious roll for me, at least. This is Mike's roll. He successfully cast Unquiet Spirits against my Black Orcs. Their toughness 4. Unquiet Spirits is strength 2. No armor saves are allowed. I didn't have a ward save up. He rolls no 6s, and he rolls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5s. So if I was toughness 3, that would have been 6 dead dudes. Thankfully, toughness 4, proving, which I think is very true, a very pivotal toughness level. Toughness 4 infantry really, really is a lot more sturdy than toughness 3. So if it's in your factions list, I recommend toying around with a big unit of toughness 4 infantry. So this is my turn now. My chariot here didn't have to charge because I'm within range of my Black Orcs. So no Impetuous there. So I don't charge with my chariot because he would have been able to countercharge. Although now I'm thinking about it, it would have made this even easier to make. But I end up rolling about a 13 or a 12 on the 3d6. And you can see there, my Mangler gets right in, blunting the lance. And we will get to the nitty-gritty of it in a second, but it's pretty devastating stuff. So this is the end of my movement phase. I posture up with my boar boys to create a double option. I also moved up my my night goblins to pop out my fanatics at the start of Mike's turn, which would have created 2 pretty bad options for Mike to charge through fanatics regardless, going into either my night goblins or my boar boys. My boar boys could countercharge, of course, and if he doesn't charge my boar boys and something else happens, my boar boys can still charge the cannon there. So leaving myself with a few options there. The giant, the Black Orcs, the BSB all kind of converge onto the middle of the board where the phalanx is, because it's a sitting duck. It's not going anywhere. I know what it's doing. I can set up a charge on my next turn while sacrificing a few victory points while he captures the hill. My other chariot kind of squeezes through. This was a little risky because I may not have won this combat, but I was essentially trying to bait Mike into shooting this chariot instead of my other stuff. And if not, I charge that towards his cannon and hopefully kill it on the next turn. But you can see the effect of King of the Hill right there. People just rush forward. It's too much of a big bounty to ignore. Here is the devastating result of my Mangler. So I rolled hot as hell, but this is why Manglers are bloody awesome. I rolled 6 impact hits. I rolled 6 random attacks, and I rolled 3 stomps. So I rolled 665 on my random attacks across the board. I killed the entire unit of 9 knights. Impact hits, I believe, killed them all. You can see there I have Plague of Rust on as well. So all of my automatic wound stuff was just killing knights. I ended up doing a wound to his general as well because after I rolled the 6 on the random attacks, I thought it may be worth having a crack at killing blow against his general. I didn't get the killing blow, but I did do a wound. But I managed to kill the entire unit also. So he falls back in good order. I fall short on the pursue, which is a shame because I don't get my impact hits, and it's his turn next. But this guy, 95 points, just wiped out 315 points. Kind of it points to this thing of toughness 3 is just atrocious. I know that's a really hard-hitting thing that had Plague of Rust on it, but it's just so hard to come back from. Toughness 3, toughness 4, I suppose, wouldn't have mattered against strength 6 here, but I don't know, man. 315 points kind of matters. So here you can see what I was setting up. As I mentioned, moved my Night Goblins up, popped my Fanatics out in front of his Knights. So regardless of what unit he charges here, he has to pass through my Fanatics, and then I get to move the Fanatics again. So setting up the dreaded double Fanatic maneuver, which everybody hates, rightfully so, maybe, but also can be avoided, I guess. You can see that as he charges, he likes to charge into my Boar Boys. One of my Fanatics rolls a double on my moves and dies instantly. 2 pass through the unit, kills 4 Knights as they head into combat. And now you can see the end of Mike's turn. So he charges in with his general into my Mangler and dies. I think the stomps, and I can't remember what it was, but I killed him. Stomps are ridiculous. He still had Plague of Rust on him. Actually, that's a good point. I presume he carries Plague of Rust. Someone can correct me there. I mean, he was in the unit when it was cast on the unit. He was the sole surviving guy, but he does become a sole character then. Someone correct me there. Maybe he shouldn't have carried Plague of Rust through. Regardless, he died. I think he did 2 wounds to my Mangler. But off he popped. You can see the end of this combat here. Mike issued a challenge with his second prince. I accepted with my general, which is a bit risky against the Ogre Blade, but weapon skill 7, v weapon skill 7, and 3 attacks on that Renegade Prince is just so awful that I thought I'd chance my arm. I managed to save. He misses twice. I saved the 1 wound that gets through. I don't think I dealt any damage. I countercharged and I moved the Fanatics through the unit again, and there's still 2 Knights remaining. So Boar Boys have a role, definitely, and they're good. I'm unsure of the best way to play them. There's a lot of talk about this Boar Death Star, which I've played around with. I find it very singular. Don't know the term. Narrow is probably better. You have to be very careful with how you play with them, and it's kind of against how Boar Boys should play, I think. But without the banner of butchery, also strength 5, just, I don't know, seems kind of lame. Weapon skill 3, strength 5, they just seem a little weak. But I think a unit of 5 or 6 or 7 is still good. I'm hesitant to invest again in a deep block of them. But let me know what you think about Boar Boys, because I know people love them. I love the idea of them. I just kind of have mixed results. But this is the end of Mike's turn. So General's dead. His wizards playing silly buggers, ethereally flying around. His cannon This cannon shoots over the top into my large target, does 3 wounds. This cannon misfired. He targeted my BSB, so doing no wounds there, allowing me to set up this ginormous combo charge in the middle now, which was very good for me. So you can see what happens there. The Mangler, after killing the general, random moves into the flank of the phalanx. The BSB chariot charges in the front and the giant charges in the front. I managed to get Plague of Rust again on these guys, so the 3-up save just becomes negligible. And a whole lot of bloodshed happens here in a second, which you will see in a second. His wizard does some hilarious stuff here. I have Wind Blast and Gaze of Gork, the laser beam one. I cast them both on this wizard, and he dispels both of them. He had 1 wound left because he had miscast earlier in the game. I blow up my Staff of Badoom and kill 3 or 4 of my Black Orcs, and the wizard survives another day and just continues to be a little pest, but struggles to cast Unquiet Spirits, to be fair. So back over to that left side, I managed to get the flank charge off with my Night Goblins. I rolled a 3 on the, or a 4 on the low dice coming out of difficult terrain, which was handy for me, but they made that in, allowing me to add a bit of combat res to a combat which I wasn't too confident anymore after that first result. This time I again accept with my general in the challenge. The Ogre Blade does 3 wounds and my general survives on 1. And I do no wounds with everything across the board. This ends up in a stalemate, but I think we've both lost our musicians at this stage. So it just ends up in a draw, which is pretty hilarious considering I had 4 combat res or something in the side. But that one continues on to another turn. Here you can see the sheer devastation. I think it was 17. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 25 guys. 25, maybe 23 guys. 22 guys plus a BSB. 22 guys die. I get big amount of impact hits from the chariot and the Mangler. Lots of attacks. The giant stomps. Plague of Rust just means anything that wounds kills them outright. But because they were near this special feature that was giving them unbreakable, they're able just to push back. I think they might also have shield wall, which I'll just quickly check that. Someone correct me there, but they have stubborn. And Mike was talking about just using shield wall instead. I don't know. Someone can tell me there. But they weren't going to hang around much longer, that's for sure. My chariot, as I said, was kind of beelining to this cannon and was staring it down to try and force a misfire or something like that. Of course, one-shotted. Mike rolls a 6 on the D3 plus 1 wounds, 4 wounds on the chariot, and it is dead. So the cannon's just about the only things that are dealing damage and dealing it pretty reliable, to be honest, as this game goes on. That's the state of the board. It wouldn't be the state of the board because that guy's dead. I'm not sure what this one is, so we'll move on. These photos, I think, were in the wrong order because this is the start of Mike's turn. He kills that cannon, and then these combats continue on after that. So this time, I managed to throw my champion into the challenge. I was confident that I couldn't whiff 2 rounds in a row, and he can only do so much against my champion, even with the Ogre Blade, because of 3 attacks. I think he ends up doing 2 to 3 or 4 wounds after multi-wound to my champion, but I end up killing that whole unit, which we'll see in a second. And you can see there the Night Goblins adding a good 4 or 5 combat res that makes the unit break. It was just the Prince again left. I managed to reform with my Night Goblins, pursue with my Boars, and catch him and kill him. 1 lone standard bearer remaining from that phalanx. He breaks and flees, and the giant chases him down, and the Mangler, I think, has to pursue too. And the chariot reforms. Now, my board is wiped, essentially. I push over to the right side, kill that cannon. These Boars kill that cannon. I laser beam the wizard off the board, and it's a complete demolition, essentially, in the end. We'll get to the takeaways in a second, but the biggest shame of all, and you may have been wondering where the hell are the Outriders or the Hireling, whatever they're called. They never left the box, which is an absolute shame because they're probably the strongest thing in the entire Arcane Journal, which I'll get to in a second. But a hot tip for anyone who plays ambushes, don't leave them in your deployment box. Put them on the board. Just put them in front of you. Put them where your dead stuff goes. Don't leave them out of sight. I've done this before where I've gotten to turn 4 or something. Admittedly, this game only went to turn 4, but Mike didn't roll once, unfortunately, and these guys never came on the board. Would they have won the game? No, but would they have done something? Absolutely. It's a shame, but there's a little hot tip for anyone playing ambushes. Before I get into my takeaways, which I'll do in a second, shout out to Pandemwargaming. Anyone who's unaware, there's an affiliate link in the description of this video. Jeff creates incredible terrain movement trays and base adapters, game aids, stuff like that. If you're interested, check out that link. And also thank you to our 2+ supporters who are our paid supporters of the channel. If you're interested, check out our Patreon or our YouTube membership in the description of this video. But let's quickly get through some takeaways. Arcane Journals. I don't know where I sit with them anymore. Renegade Crowns really confuses me. It's kind of like the hobbyist's dream. You can put all of these mundane additions onto your units. I think if this is what they were doing for Dogs of War, I think it falls a little short. There's not a lot of flair in it. It's a good start, I think, but if you're playing this socially, you really need to know the limitations of it. Toughness 3 is so bad. 3 attacks on a general is just awful, and I wish they would spend some time investing in fighting characters rather than shooting and magic. Because Renegade Crowns has the potential to have a lot of flair in it. I think people are very excited about it. But on the tabletop, it just might disappoint. You saw in that army list, they're so expensive, and you're getting Toughness 3 guys, Strength 3 guys. You're not going to be able to punch through much at all in close combat. That, unfortunately, in my opinion, means, and this is where I think the list could be competitively strong, not necessarily at the toppest level, but say you want to win with this list. Unfortunately, I think it means you are leaning into those hireling outriders. I think that's what they're called. I'll just double check that. Hireling outriders, the shooting, ambushes, reserve move, that finicky stuff, which is just, Alex and I talk about it a lot offline, but it's just kind of lame Warhammer. And there's enough armies like that. We want the phalanx to be the thing. We want the Renegade Knight to have some cool ability where he gets to, have 5 attacks when he charges with a unit of 5 knights or something like that. I don't know. Something just fun. I think it has potential, and I'm not saying this is a dead Arcane Journal by any means. I think if you set the parameters with your mate that you're playing, then you can have fun, and I think it leans really well into narrative-themed battles. But outside of the Bombard, I didn't feel threatened by anything in the entire list. Maybe there was a mismatch there, but you guys can tell me what you think about those lists. The Phalanx, I will say, looks really cool. It's different, and it's a way to play humans that isn't common, and just that really long, that's the other thing it allows you to do. It allows you to be in marching column but still be in combat order, I think the term is. So that was cool to see, and I can see how it would be sturdy, but it's so easy to just outmaneuver. So you've really got to figure out how you can support that phalanx if you want to have a good time with this list. On my side of the fence, I know it was a bit of a demolition, but from me, I'm learning very quickly that random move 3d6 is fantastic. Orcs and Goblins have access to 2 units, the Mangler and the Squig Hoppers. It stops things like countercharge, stand and shoot, fire and flee. It often has, it's on a monster, so its impact hits or stomps. You still count as charging for all of it, but where it's really powerful is stopping that charge reaction. The competitive scene, I suppose you could call it, has a lot of shooting in it. You can be, the thing with random movers is it adheres to all the charging limitations except for line of sight. So you still have to charge the shortest distance, and you still have to maximize. But you can have a forest between you and your opponent, and as long as you roll high enough, you just charge straight forward into your opponent, and they have to accept the charge. So I'm really interested in exploring that. We saw it with the Mangler stopping that unit of, I want to get the name right, veteran free blades, and just demolishing that unit. The other thing that I love at the moment, I really want to play more of, and it kind of feels like the zone of fun Warhammer is where giants can be on the table. I think if you're taking a giant, you need to take other stuff that cannons want to shoot, because otherwise every time I've brought them and there's cannons, it just dies. But rolling on the cannon attack, sorry, the giant attack table is seriously 10 out of 10 Warhammer. It has D6 stomps, so it also always does something. It's unbreakable. It's leadership 10. It just dies to cannons. So take heed of that one. But I'm very interested in knowing what you guys think about Renegade Crowns. Have you played it? Are you about to play it? If you are, don't let me sway you. Go out there and let me know how you go. But I'm hoping to see a little bit more playability out of these arcane journals. I know it feels like, and this is a good thing, that they're building up fluff and lore with them all, but I also want them to be useful on the tabletop. So let me know how you go. Let me know what you thought of this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on the next 2+ Battle Report. Thanks, guys. See ya.